Welcome to the Ag and Natural Resources and Budget Committee. Today we're going to do a hearing on House Bill 2203. David, are you ready to kind of fill us in a little bit?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, can you hear me okay?
Nope. You look good, just can't hear you.
One second. Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yep,
Yep. Sorry about that. House Bill 2203 would establish the Asbestos Remediation Fund in the State Treasury. The Secretary of Health and Environment would be the administrator of the fund, and the Secretary would be required to remit to the Treasurer all monies collected or received from the Secretary from permit and approval fees collected under the Asbestos Control Program, any monies received by the state under the provisions of the Asbestos Control Program, including administrative expenses, civil penalties, and monies paid under any agreement, stipulation, or settlement, and interest attributable to investment of monies in the fund. All such monies would be deposited in the Treasury to the credit of the Asbestos Remediation Fund. Monies deposited in the fund shall be expended only for the purpose of administering the Kansas Asbestos Control Act, including funding of a technical and environmental compliance assistance program, and for no other governmental purpose. The Director of Accounts reports shall transfer interest earnings each month to the fund based on the average daily balance of monies in the fund for the preceding month and the net earnings rate of the pooled money investment portfolio for the preceding month. So this is where the interest would be credited based on state investment each month. The bill also amends KSA 655309 and 655304 to direct the state treasurer to credit all fees and civil penalties received under the Asbestos Control Program to the Asbestos Remediation Fund rather than the state general fund as is under current law. So it would no longer be forwarded to the state general fund. It would all be to this new fund created here to fund the control program. And the bill is effective upon publication in the statute book, July 1st, 2021. And I can stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Committee, do you have any questions for David? David, I might have a question. So I'm looking here on the estimated physical effects. So how much money is in there now and how much money kind of comes in yearly? Is that something that you can help me on or something?
Mr. Chair, I might defer that to a representative from the department. I mean, beyond just what the fiscal note says, it looks like it'd be about 110,000 revenue out of the SGF and would go into the fund, but I might defer to them on the specifics. That's okay.
Okay, we can see everybody again now.
All right.
David.
I don't know. Did you? I don't know when I kind of lost you there for a little bit. I think according to the fiscal note, it was there's about $110,000 for the asbestos program each year. So that would come out of the state general fund and be in this new fund, the asbestos remediation fund. But the department might also be able to share some more detail on that.
Thank you, David. Does anybody have any questions for David? Thank you, David. No questions at the moment, so let's move on. The proponents. First, we have from KDHE, Mr. Leo Henning. He'll be on WebEx.
Thank you, Chairman Corbett. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you and committee members for allowing me some time today to provide testimony in support of House Bill 2203. I am Leo Henning, Deputy Secretary and Director of Environment at the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. You should have my written testimony there. I'm just going to provide a few comments on the bill. and stand for questions. So House Bill 2203 pertains to the Asbestos Control Act that was passed in 1985. The purpose of the act is to license companies that perform asbestos abatement and to ensure proper handling and disposal of the asbestos material. So a little history about House Bill 2203 was a proviso was added to the budget bill last year, Senate Bill 66. And I provided that proviso language in my written testimony so you can read it if you would like. But that proviso did two things. It created the Asbestos Remediation Fund, and it directed the fees collected by the Asbestos Program to the Asbestos Remediation Fund instead of the State General Fund. KDHE was instructed by the legislature last year to bring a bill this year that would make those conditions in the provisos permanent. So Senate Bill 2203 does that. It statutorily creates the Asbestos Remediation Fund and directs the fees collected by the Asbestos Program to the Asbestos Remediation Fund. The bill allows the collection of fees to stay and support the asbestos program. The asbestos remediation industry also supports this bill because they also want the fees that they are paying to stay with the program that supports their efforts. So with that, thank you again for your time. I ask that you pass the bill out favorably, and I will stand for any questions.
Representative Newland?
Thank you, Mr. Henning, for that. Just one quick question. What kind of oversight does the agency have as the remediation is in progress?
We do try to go out and inspect the asbestos abatement as it occurs. We can't go to every site and be there all the time. It's more of a spot inspection as we can get someone in this from staff to go out and review it. But we do review the work plans that they submit on how they're going to do the abatement, and we approve those, and we do spot inspections. This is the way I would say that we do that.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Leo, just a couple quick questions. Today, as I'm looking at the fiscal note, we're running $110,000 annually. 85 of that comes out of State General Fund, correct? And you have to take the other, I assume 30 or 24, 20, whatever the balance is, out of the air quality fee fund. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'll just give you a quick summary of what goes on. Right now, under current law, or before the proviso, I should say, before last year's proviso, all the fees that we collected went into the State General Fund. We could collect up to $110,000 a year in fees, but we were only allocated back through the SGF apportionment about $85,000 a year. So the difference had to be made up by taking money out of the air quality fee fund. And that is exactly why this proviso was put in place last year. Is the legislator wanted us to stop using air quality fee funds for the asbestos program.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, and that's well, that's why you're working with the folks on trying to come up with a solution on the air quality fee fund. But I had just a quick. Oh, I know what it was. What are the fees today, Leo, on the asbestos, or that you charge for the fees?
Just for clarification, are you asking the type of fees that we charge, or are you thinking how much are we generating?
Well, you generate evidently $85,000, correct?
Well, again, it's a fee, so we charge, and
Right.
what I'll do is I'll let Rick Bernetti give you those details if you want to know how
Well,
the fees are. But
That's that was what I was trying to get to, what the fees are today.
okay, Rick Bernetti is on the here also. He can give you a breakdown of what the fees are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you for the question. Essentially, we have two types of fees in regards to the asbestos program in Kansas. The first one is asbestos remediation contractors are required to pay an annual fee to get licensed through the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. And then secondly, there is a charge in regards to review of and approval of abatement projects. And those abatement projects are, the costs associated with those are variable dependent on the size of the remediation project. So for every dollar, pay a certain amount, but there is a cap on that, and I believe it is right around $1,500.
Could I follow up, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, we'd like to find out.
The cap is $1,500. The average, what would you say on the abatement projects that they pay what would be an average? Do you have?
Okay. An average, probably between $200 and $300.
$200 to $300 would be the average. And then the license fee is how much?
Is $2,000 per year.
Per year.
Abatement, you know.
Thank you, sir, very much.
You bet.
Representative Carlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering what is the reason for the difference in the $110,000 that you, I don't know, collect? Is that what you said? You're collecting $110,000 a year, and why are you only getting back $86,000? What is happening? Is there, I believe I know the answer, but go ahead.
In short, that's what's allowed to us through the budgeting process. So we typically put in around $110,000 a year in state general fund to the state general fund, but we are only budgeted back the $80,000 a year. And that's why we have to then use other funds to make up the difference.
I didn't get the answer to my question. Why are you only budgeted back that amount? Is the state general fund charging you a fee to manage?
No, they're not charging us a fee. It's just that in the budgeting process, that is all that we're allowed for the asbestos program.
When you change this with this legislation, when it is deposited with the state treasurer's office, is that going to change?
Is that going to, well,
are you going
yes.
to get 110,000 back for 110,000?
Yes. All the fees that we collect will be in that dedicated fee fund, and those would be the monies that we would use going into the future.
And why, well, I'm not getting what I wanted, but thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Hahn?
Don't you hate it when that happens? When you don't get what you want? Dang it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick question. Who pays for these fees? Who are the folks paying for the fees?
the asbestos contractors, the companies that do asbestos work in the state.
Thank you so much.
And I think you'll see in the package, hopefully, most of the asbestos abatement companies have provided testimony in favor of this bill.
Representative Newland?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When was the last time that some of these fees were changed? Mainly the yearly fee? Could you hear me?
I am sorry, I could not hear your question. Could you repeat it?
Yes. When was the last time the yearly fee was changed?
Rick, you'll have to answer that one. I do not know that.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the full question. You said how long ago was it that the
yearly fee, when was it last changed?
oh, it hasn't been changed since the initial inception of the statutes. The regulations that were directed to be drafted were drafted, I believe, 2 years later after the statute, and they have not been updated in regards to a change in those particular charges.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Committee, any more questions? So, Leo or one of you, about on an average year of last year or whatever, how many contractors do you deal with that pay these fees to you? It's probably you've got a round number, I'm sure, whether it's 50 or 100 or 1,000, or how many people are in your database that you collect fees from?
It would vary somewhere between 20 and 30.
Okay. Any more questions, anybody? Thank you, Leo. We're going to head on. There may be questions later. Next, we're going to have written testimony. You want to talk? We have the Grass and Grain and Feed Association, Agribusiness Business Retail Association, and the Biofuel Association. So, Randy, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Am I on? Is that good? Good afternoon. Randy Stuckey. Great to see the KDHE folks today. Our interest in this bill is for those industries, the Grain and Feed Association, the grain elevators, the biofuel plants, the ag retailers. These industries pay into that air quality fee fund that Representative Gartner just mentioned. So that is our interest in this very small bill. When they pay those fees to the air quality fee fund, they should be, we believe, directed to those purposes and not redirected to an unrelated asbestos program. Even if it's only $30,000 a year, that air quality, Bureau of Air Quality, is in need of more funding. And so you have a small leak over here to this unrelated asbestos program. We think it should be rectified. In policy, we think that when an agency receives fees for a certain program, they should be directed to that program. We pay all kinds of fees and all kinds of programs, and to redirect those to the state general fund by policy, we don't agree with that. So we think that the bill it makes sense. KDHE collects these fees. They should be directed to that program for the reason that they're collected, not state general funds. And then hopefully we can redirect, instead of borrowing from the air quality fee fund, that $30,000 back to the appropriate program.
So one question I'd have, when you have these fees, how and when are they used? And for what are they used? So you collect all these fees, they're in this new fund, and then are they just administered for FTEs, or are they for cleanup, or what does the money do that's in the?
For the asbestos program?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what the testimony was from KDHE was that they have a certain amount of inspectors that can, one, license these companies and then spot check the companies to make sure that the asbestos program is run appropriately. We have grain elevators that when they age, they're going to have asbestos remediation concerns. And so we pay into the program in that avenue when they are taken down. So we also have that attachment to the asbestos program, but principally it's the use of these unrelated funds for that program. So that's our concern.
Kind of a win-win
It
for
is,
everybody.
yeah.
Any questions for Randy or?
Thank you.
Thank you. We have written only from BNR Insulation, ACM Removal, Kansas Electric Cooperatives, Evergy, and so on. Is there anybody else would you like, are you fine? So I do not see, is there anybody here with any neutral or opponent testimony, online or otherwise? Anyone else wish to testify? If that's good, oh, you got a question? Yes. Representative Gardner, I'm sorry,
Chairman, I know we have this scheduled tomorrow. Can we some way take a vote and bring this up today to work it? I'm not sure, we need to lay this over for 24 hours and then come
Victoria,
back for a meeting.
do you
Victoria?
have an answer to that?
Sure, I can answer that. Mr. Chairman, you set the agenda, so if you want to work it today, you can do so. I don't believe it requires a vote. David can correct me if I'm wrong.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Go ahead.
I mean, there is a House Rule 1308 that would, if you do take action on the same day as a bill hearing, that action just has to be by a 2/3 vote. But if there's consensus on the committee, I don't think that'd be a problem. Just there is a House Rule though, just for your information.
Okay. So do we want to try to do the 2/3 and see if we got it?
Well, my guess is we do, but let me go ahead and make a motion, I guess, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we go ahead and work House Bill 2203, if I have my glasses, if that's correct.
Sure, spot on.
Today, Mr. Chairman.
Second. I have just one question. Is there anybody online or here in the room that would object to this procedure? Fine. Proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the committee pass out House Bill 2203 favorably.
All in favor, say aye. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
So we're voting.
The first motion was
To
just
work the
to
bill?
go ahead and work House Bill 2203 today.
Okay. All those in favor of that motion, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Representative Gardner.
Okay, then we'll go with the follow-up. The second motion is I would recommend that we pass out favorably House Bill 2203.
Second by Representative Newland. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? So this bill's passed out. Is anything else that you'd like to talk about for the good of the order?
Mr. Chairman, I want to commend you for a great job this year. First time chairing this committee. We appreciate it.
Thank you. We've got some pretty sharp people on this committee, as you know. So,
I have one thing to say. Representative Newland, wasn't it your phone that went off last week?
It was, and my plan was to have ice cream here tomorrow when we finish this bill.
You gotta, these guys are pretty sharp. So, yeah, so with that, it doesn't look like we'll be meeting maybe very little now, so kind of pay attention to what Josh puts out. If you need anything, give us a holler, and I'm sorry you missed out on your ice cream. We're adjourned.